Okay, we're back to install the front hubs and rear hubs. A video for the rear hub assembly got cut off because my phone died. Sorry about that. So it's basically the same tips as what I did on the front. You just make sure that when you assemble your CVAs, they're nice and free. I had to grind behind the wheel hex a little bit, just like I did in the front, to make sure that there was no bind in this when you tighten that down. And then also grease the axle a little bit before you put that on. Other than that, there was nothing fancy about the assembly of the rear hub. So sorry that video cut out, that's my bad. Anyway, we will install the pillow balls now. So what we'll do is put the shim on there for the lower pillow ball. And then for the lower pillow ball, you want to glue these in. There's a lot of arm flex, twisting, and everything else that goes on around that lower pillow ball that causes that to back out. And if it backs out, you're almost guaranteed to break an arm. So the fix to that is by adding a little glue to the threads before you screw it in there. You can use CA glue. I'm going to use E6000. I know Spencer has some really cool Flex Seal stuff that works really good also. So any kind of adhesive, you're just going to coat the threads really good. We think what's causing this might be that the arm is pre-threaded for the pillow ball, so it's not actually squishing tight enough. We're not making our own threads, so there might be air gaps in there. And the pillow ball is, what we're doing with the glue maybe is just filling up those air gaps from the pre-threaded arm to the pillow ball. And that might be what's working. So just tighten that down crazy tight. I mean, it ain't gonna strip. You can go crazy tight with it. And just wipe off the excess glue. And there you go. And then that should solve that problem from ever coming out. And when you go to take it out, it breaks the seal of the glue. No problem. Not a big issue there. So then we'll drop in the drive shaft here, and we will start the upper arm. So for the uppers, I haven't really experienced the issue with them backing out, so I kind of stopped gluing them. You can glue them. I have glued them. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. I would say if it's some kind of big important race where I definitely want to make sure that I don't have any kind of failure in any way, I would probably just go ahead and glue them, but they screw into the arm way tighter than the bottom ones do, all the way through. So I think the threads are just much better on the top one. And it doesn't seem to back out. Plus this arm's not going to take the abuse this arm is with all the flexing and everything. So for the camber shim, I do use the stock silver one. I've tried the black one, which adds a ½ degree of camber. And I've tried the red one that takes out ½ degree of camber. And I prefer this stock one. It's the best happy medium. From the black one and the red one, I found both have advantages and disadvantages. So this is a happy medium between those. Make sure that's really tight. I try to make it where the opening of that camber shim is on the bottom. And your pillow ball should be really free. So we'll do the same thing on the other side. You want to make sure you get enough adhesive on there that when you screw this in, it fills every single thread. Like I said, the last thing you want is this pillow ball to start backing out while you're running the car on the track. If it does, you're pretty much guaranteed you're going to break an arm. So just go ahead and pack that adhesive on there. And really crank tight on those. And wipe the excess adhesive off. And there's that. And we'll get the top one on. Okay, nice and tight. Okay, the front's done. The pillow ball's nice and free. There should be zero resistance in those. So we will move on to the rear hub assembly here. So what you want to do is first is check and make sure the holes are nice and the hinge pin goes through the holes nice and free. That is tight. And the top hole is good. So we're going to have to ream this bottom hole out. You don't want it tight like that. So I have this nice carbide, I think router bit or something like that it's called. I got it off Amazon. It's 3.5 millimeters. It's a special machine size. Perfect for this. Just run that through there just like that. Make sure the hinge pin is super free on there. And then what we're going to use is, instead of using the 5 millimeter thick hub spacer that comes with it, we're actually going to use the arm shims, the 2 millimeter arm shims that came with the kit. 2 millimeter. We will use those. And then we will use the extra different sized ones that we have. We have these nice two from the front and rear end. We will be using those so that we can move our hub forward and back. So I will be using the 0.5 millimeter because I want to run my hub 2.5 millimeters back. So I'll have 2.5 millimeters in the front, and then I'm going to use the 1.25s and the 1.0s. That will give me a total of 4.75, which I know from previous experience that that's what you want in there, is 4.75 millimeters. Well, I will obviously check that when I put this on and make sure there's nothing has changed. So I'll put this hub in here. There we go. Like I said, I used the lowest hole on the hub, so raising the hub up. I got the 2 millimeter and the 0.5 millimeter here that I'm going to put in front of the hub. And I had the 1.25 and the 1.0 behind the hub. So that's 4.75 total, and that hub, them shims were just right, and there's zero, I got no bind in that hub. That's exactly what you want. If you was to put the full 5 millimeter one in there, it's going to put too much pressure on that and bind that up. So you're looking to just have just enough. And I've found from building 4 cars now, this is number 5, that 4.75 millimeters is the perfect amount for the rear hub spacing. Okay, so we'll go ahead and secure this one. We'll put Loctite on this nut for this hinge pin. Loctite that. And then we will secure that down. And that hub is perfectly assembled, and we'll just do the same thing on the other side. Again, we will check our holes. That one is tight once again. That one is good. So we'll ream that bottom one out. That's good. So then we'll get our shims over here. That's a number 1. This is a 125. This is the 0.5 mil. And then we got our 2 mil. We'll put the shims on there, same as the other side. Right through there, hub's free, no back and forth play there. Everything's perfect. Then we'll grab our nut, put our Loctite in, drop that on there, and then tighten it down. Now these hinge pins, you can tighten that nut all the way tight, because of the way it's designed. It still has back and forth play and don't squish the arm. The hinge pin is designed so that you can tighten that nut all the way tight. So there is the rear hub assembly and the front hub assembly. I would like to point out, like I said in the other video, your droop setting is going to be drastically dependent on your rear hub location. Because of the axle height, it is drastically raised or lowered based on where you put that hub. So if you run your hub low, then you're going to run a shorter droop setting at your shock. To get the same, you're going to get the same amount of droop at the wheel as if you run it high and run a longer droop at the shock. But I run mine in the high location like this, I would say 99.5% of the time. So, but that doesn't mean you guys might like it in the low location. So, just something that you need to know about the droop and the hub location. Up is going to raise your axle height. You need a longer droop setting here, and then lower your hub, lowers your axle height. You need a shorter droop setting here. Okay, we'll have to wait to do the turnbuckles. I'm waiting on my titanium turnbuckles to show up before we can assemble those. But it's starting to look like a race car.